Probably my favorite website that I look at 3 or 4 times a day, no kidding, is called AfterDowningstreet.org. The reason is because probably more than any other website in the country, you can get reports about activity, organizing, going on all over the country. And one of the leaders of that group is David Swanson, who's been one of the key impeachment organizers in the U.S. Please welcome David Swanson.
Thank you, Bruce. You know, it is absolutely beautiful today in Virginia, and I would rather be here. I would rather be standing outside the gates of hell. It looks like they're about to freeze over. And we have just heard about employees of Condoleezza Rice applauding a protest. And a few minutes ago, we heard about an employee of the Pentagon speaking of loving your enemies. We need to find these people other jobs. And the people of Nebraska need to find the people who work inside these gates who know better, other jobs that pay salaries and don't leave us all in the end dead. We need to do this. I had an endless airplane voyage yesterday, and I wrote down a few words. They're not endless. So, you know when you watch a sports team that's based somewhere near you and they win and you exclaim, "We won," right? There are still 20% or so of Americans who look at the ever worsening disaster of Iraq and exclaim, "We're winning." As if they were losing limbs and having their brains scrambled by IEDs, right? And what those 20% are thinking, at least some of them, is not, I'm convinced, "Hooray, we're slaughtering innocent people for the enrichment of Halliburton." They don't believe that's what we're doing. They believe it is a Department of Defense. They believe that the we embodied in the U.S. military is defending us against some sort of threat. But I think if an Iranian asked one of these Americans not to attack Iran for oil and power, the American would deny that America ever does such things, because he or she would never do such things. And it's us, it's we. And I think a lot of people around the world would be shocked by the goodwill of some of these Americans, just as they would be shocked by the fear and the terror and the hatred of so many people around the world for America. When Iran created a democracy in the 1950s, our CIA went in and destroyed it and installed a dictator. Now we've labeled their country evil and criminal and a threat, and we've invaded and occupied the nation to their east, and we've invaded and occupied the nation to the west, and we've put ships off the coast. I would be scared if I lived in Iran. And the people of Iran and the government of Iran had no more to do with the attacks of September 11th, 01 than Iraq did. Absolutely nothing. And Iran, like any other nation on earth, cannot possibly be a threat to the global and extraterrestrial killing machine that is controlled from StratCom. Now, there might be a handful of Iranians who would like to engage in acts of terrorism, just like there might be a handful of Nebraskans. But when you bomb and occupy and detain and torture and murder, it makes that handful grow, not disappear. You can bomb the world into pieces, but you cannot bomb the world into peace. Now, the people of Omaha, I think, have an absolute duty to create alternative employment for those who work in StratCom, and they have a duty to stop working there and to speak out about everything they know about plans for aggressive wars. And I think that we all have one more duty, and that is to collectively force our so-called representatives in Congress to do the only thing that can guarantee protection for Iran from the murderers running StratCom, and that thing is the immediate impeachment and removal from office of Richard B. Cheney and George W. Bush. Can you jump up and down and say impeach? Impeach! Impeach! Impeach!
Thank you, David.
I've been saying that for years.
And the other thing we have to say to all the politicians in the United States of America, especially the hypocritical Democrats who keep saying they're against the occupation and then turn around and vote for another 70 or 100 billion dollars more, we have to tell the politicians in this country to stop funding the occupation of Iraq. Well, friends, that's it. We thank you all so much for coming. We now have to, because the warm Midwest hospitality of the local gendarmes will not allow us to have our little tiny trolley pull up alongside here and let us get on board. We've got to walk down the road about a few hundred yards to the right and get on board our trolley and get on board our cars. So let's do that. Thank you all. Another hand for everybody.